But really, the biggest story yesterday wasn't about the game itself. It was about Shohei Ohtani getting some additional time to warm up after he had been on the bases. And there was this clip of George Springer talking to the umpire, and most people ran with it that George Springer was either saying, hey, can we get this thing going? Or he was just getting some clarification on what was going on. And then after the game, Dave Roberts was asked about it. George Springer appearing to ask the umpire if there was any issues there. And Dave Roberts said, hey, he could see why the Blue Jays and teams might be a little annoyed, but that Shohei Ohtani, he needs some grace. He's the only guy that's doing this. He's the only pitcher and hitter, and he deserves a little more time. And I've heard the arguments, didn't pitchers used to bat? Didn't pitchers used to bat when the National League didn't have the designated hitter rule? Madison Bumgarner, he was a really good hitter. He would occasionally hit home runs. Did he get some extra time on the mound? Hey, did you guys just start watching baseball in the last 2-3 years? Because anyone that's saying that or asking that doesn't remember a time when there wasn't a pitch clock. Before the pitch clock, we didn't care. You go on the mound, make a sandwich, do your taxes, watch the Lord of the Rings trilogy, and then you would face that first batter. No one cared. Everything changed after the designated hitter role was made universal and the pitch clock was implemented. So there was no issue. And Shohei Ohtani does something that no one else does. He goes out there, he has 5 at-bats, 6 at-bats per game, and he also goes on the mound and he faces hitters. And his version of hitting isn't like the version of hitting that pitchers used to do back in the day, where, hey, if they just put the bat on the ball, you would consider a success. Or if he would just draw a walk, you would consider a success. No, Shohei Ohtani also happens to be the most important part of this Dodgers lineup. And yes, does he get some preferential treatment? Sure, but guess what? Hey, Blue Jays, you wanted Shohei, right? You wanted him on your team. You're hoping he was on that plane to Toronto. And he wasn't. But if he was, would you have an issue if he was on your team? Would you have an issue if he was wearing that Blue Jays blue instead of Dodger blue? Would you have any issue with him getting some extra time to get warmed up in between innings? No, you wouldn't. And on top of that, if there's another player out there somewhere on this planet that is going to make a run at pitching and hitting at the same time in the same game, then guess what? Major League Baseball and the umpires, they will gladly give you some extra time and you will get some preferential treatment. Let's not hate on things that help grow the game, because make no mistake about it, ratings are through the roof. Baseball's hot in the streets. People are talking about this sport now more than they have in the last 2 decades because of Shohei Ohtani, and mainly because of Shohei Ohtani. If we have to pick one guy. So let's not bite that off the hand that feeds you. Don't bite the hand that feeds you, Blue Jays, okay? But hey, here's the thing. Was George Springer really upset? Was he not upset? Was he having any issue with it? Well, today on Foul Territory, MLB insider Ken Rosenthal said that he wasn't. Here's what Ken had to say.
Now, what happened yesterday in Toronto got some attention because you saw early in the game George Springer kind of asking the umpire, Dan Bellino, what was going on. And it looked like he might be complaining. But I was told by 2 people directly involved this morning that Springer was not complaining at all. He was merely asking for clarification that Ohtani indeed gets more time beyond the normal 2-minute break between innings. So this was not a reprise of the World Series last year when in Game 7, John Schneider, the manager of the Blue Jays, was definitely complaining about Ohtani taking too much time to get out there. This was merely a case in which the Blue Jays, or in this case Springer, wanted clarification. No big deal there at all. Now, the bigger question with Ohtani for me, Alana, is something he said after the game yesterday about not feeling so great on the mound. He was vague about it. He didn't say anything was physically wrong. He just said, I didn't feel my normal self. Pitchers go through this all the time. Nobody feels 100% in all 30 starts or whatever a pitcher might make. But it raises the question, Alana, that one we've been all asking. Can this guy pitch enough this season to win a Cy Young? He's already getting ample time between starts. Relative to the time between innings, it seems to me that's been pretty much addressed. And yes, in certain cases, umpires are going to give him the grace that Dodgers manager Dave Roberts was talking about after yesterday's game. Basically, there are practical elements here. If the guy needs more time, a little bit more time, as long as he's not abusing it, and in Game 7 last year, it was borderline, in my opinion, but as long as he's not abusing it, that's fine. Now, as far as what I think you're asking about relative to can he sustain a full pitcher's workload going forward, he's done it before. And he's placed well in the Cy Young voting before. But, of course, he's getting older. He's coming off a second surgery. It's been some time now. But the question of whether he can sustain it and still be ready for the postseason, which is all really the Dodgers care about, that is a fair question. And it's something that, Alana, you're absolutely right about. It is uncharted territory. And we don't know if Shohei Ohtani is going to be able to do this to the full extent that maybe fans want to see, maybe even the Dodgers want to see. But at the same time, he still pitched yesterday extremely well. No earned runs in 6 innings, 1 run overall. This guy is just absolute marvel, remains that way. And honestly, it's going to be fascinating to see just how he handles everything this year, as it's fascinating with him every year.
That was Ken Rosenthal reporting that George Springer was not complaining. And while I respect Ken Rosenthal at the highest level, it's not enough. I need more investigation on warm-up gate, on complaint gate. I need the RCMP, the Royal Canadian Mounted Police, that's their equivalent of the FBI, to look into this issue, because George Springer complaining about Shohei Ohtani is a little rich. George Springer trying to enforce rules is a little rich. And between that and Valenzuela clipping him on the arm, this was just outrageous what the Blue Jays did to Shohei Ohtani. Of course, I'm only kidding. But here we have my man, Noel Sanchez, working behind the scenes last couple of days. A very busy man here. Runs our social media here, Dodgers Nation. Noel, I'm sure Dodgers fans weren't happy about that moment between George Springer and Shohei Ohtani. It looked like he was complaining.
Yeah, we had hundreds of comments on the initial post right when it went up, and he's just not the guy, to be complaining about anything that the Dodgers are doing, especially when we already had the Blue Jays and their manager complain about it during the World Series. Dave Roberts said it best. You got to give him some grace. He's the only guy doing this at the level. We may never see this again. And when it comes to George Springer, it's a taste in the Dodgers fans' mouth that's never going to go away. Everybody's pointing out, he cheated. He draws a line when it comes to needing more time to warm up. So just a really bad look overall. And like I said, whenever we get hundreds of comments in a couple of minutes, it's either a really big play walk-off or it's something super controversial.
Exactly. It was the perfect combination. The guy that Dodgers fans despise the most, combined with our glorious king Shohei Ohtani, just seeing them interact on any level. And here's the thing too. It's like he has played games where Shohei Ohtani has pitched. Yep. George Springer has been around this league long enough. He knew damn well the dude gets some extra time. He knows that, hey, we saw the World Series where he was huffing and puffing in Game 7 and people said that was the most exhausted that they've ever seen Shohei. Yeah. And here's the thing. I always ask myself, because I don't want to be Mr. Dodger Blue everything, biased everything. How would I feel
now, what happened
if I was a fan of the other team in this situation? And myself, I want the game to grow. I love greatness. I would have no issue with this, because I think that if you're a fan of another team, I get it, you hate the Dodgers, but you can't hate Shohei Ohtani, because as this commenter points out, Vladimir Guerrero Jr. should thank Shohei for his inflated $500 million contract. We saw in the 90s what Michael Jordan did for players' contracts in the NBA. We saw what Tiger Woods did for golfers' contracts. He deserves some preferential treatment. I hate to say it, but that's just the reality of it.
Yeah, and I think the Blue Jays announcers didn't do George Springer any grace, and neither did the Sportsnet broadcast for Toronto, because it was the announcer saying, I bet you that what he's talking to the umpire about is Shohei warming up. And then the Toronto broadcast also cut to Dave Roberts in the dugout, and Dave looked pretty annoyed. Like he was like shaking his head, like thinking like, what are you doing? So his kind of broadcast team set him up to get thrown into the fire into all these Dodger fans.
Exactly. I think that's where it hits home with me, was that Dave recognized it in the moment, and that Shohei's been doing this long enough where players just kind of have that clock knowing, okay, what's the harm too? If I'm a batter in the box, it just gives me a couple more pitches to kind of get that release point down, to kind of get that timing down. So, I mean, it's not like it hurts them. He's in a rush to go up there and strike out, right?
Yeah,
I mean,
it's like when you know someone is so good at something that you're mad that you see them getting ready to like take you out. And I think that was the case with Springer. He saw Ohtani was getting ready to take him on, and he was just going to go to the umpire and say, like, yo, man, let's hurry this up.
Absolutely. By the way, we got Muad'Dib says, producer Noel looking jacked today. Keep it up, bro.
Muad'Dib, Dune 3 on the way. Shout out Paul Atreides, Muad'Dib. He's a real fan right there.
My only question is, when did Fernando Tatis Jr. let you borrow his ringworm cream?
Come on, man. It's all natural.
All natural?
I'm on that Yada Sensei workouts.
No Jackson Profar special?
No, not at all. Not at all. He still hasn't made a comment about that, by the way. It's kind of crazy.
I know. Well, he's done so. But hey, give it up for Noise by Noel. It's a busy man. Get back to work. We'll bring you in. We'll bring you in a little later.
I'll be here someday.
Yeah, I know. Go back into your smoke-filled, cloudy room here.
Buying us lunch today, by the way, chat. So you guys can give him some props.
I am buying us lunch. I'm going to Little Caesars to give us one pizza. One piece we can all share. But let us know down below what your thoughts on the George Springer complaint gate. Let us know down below.